Right, this is Neil Enough Dice. We are having an interview with Phil and Gregor, who are the people who are in charge of this year convention, making it all happening. So let's start off with who are you and what is it that you do?
I'm Phil. Phil Harris. I'm the Compulsion coordinator. I coordinate the whole of the convention with the help of my committee and ably assisted by Gregor, who is my deputy.
I'm Gregor Hutton. I'm the one that says no.
That's a useful function to have, I should think. So how long have you been doing Compulsion?
This is our first year.
Well, I'm just going to say we've been at Compulsion for a number of years. Phil, a number of years more than me.
So,
Age related.
so what's in? I mean, what caused you to become get you in charge? What?
Somebody asked, and I said yes. I think there was blackmail involved. Was there blackmail involved? You won't answer that question, will you?
I'm not allowed to answer that question because it's sub judice.
Yeah.
So you must be unbelievably busy and how
No,
much?
we're talking to you lot. I'm quite relaxed. How are you feeling, Gregor?
It has to be said that we did go to Union of Genius, who make excellent, tasty soups.
And are donating to our charity.
And we went there for our soup sort of brunch at just after 11 because the con was kind of running itself because everyone's put hard work in, from the committee to all the people running games to all the people turning up to play the events. And so once it got started after like sort of 10:30, once everyone was in games and playing, um, the great we're like a really good rule set. The secret is you don't need it.
Yes, it runs itself. It's been fantastic. Everybody's been like feeding back well. It's buzzing in all the areas of like the convention. Um, we're really doing this for like charity. That's what Compulsion and was big, no, big con before this, and then Dungeon Aid,
Dungeon Aid. Yeah.
as it was originally formed, was about. It was about making some money for charity and having a good time at the same time.
Yeah, and the charity this year is Pass It On, which repurposes computers for disabled clients. So, it's for people with disabilities. It's to really get them computer access with the best computer equipment. And it's a local charity. It's a small charity. This money will mean a lot to them. And it's something that I think is close to every gamer's heart. Computers and the sort of, the accessibility for those things.
Yes, indeed. And so we've got a really good selection of people along. We've got like the whole of Cubicle Seven's One Ring team, which we're delighted to have along. We're spending time with them. Got them to see them actually meet each other for the first time. And for something which is based on Lord of the Rings, there was a sort of gathering thing about it, which was like quite interesting. We've got Nightfall Games. Most of the team, they made an announcement at 10 o'clock about the media deal they've got and like the film rights, which have now been like sold, which is like fantastic for them. But we've got like smaller people like Stuart Boone, who did Shadows over Scotland. It's great like Cthulhu supplement. We've got fantastic artists.
Yeah, we've got John Hodgson, who did the One Ring. He's now art director of Cubicle 7. But, we've got Andy Hepworth, who's such a great artist. He's done things from Exalted to a lot of Legend of the Five Rings. We've got Scott Neal, who's, again, an independent artist. I mean, he's a really great illustrator. He did a talk this morning where he got one of the Dawn duelists. They gave him some Roman sort of items to wear, and they were showing about sort of creative lighting and how to sketch. And he's been painting on the stage, and I believe the painting will be in the auction. And we've got Paul Bourne, who's another excellent artist. And so we've got such a great mixture of guests, traders, enthusiastic local gamers. The buzz in the background is we're in the study. They've got the Scottish King of Gamers competition. And there's just so much going on this year. There's a real buzz about the place.
Yeah, there's an incredible buzz about the place, and all the feedback I've got is positive. I posted on Facebook, I want feedback, and we've been asked on the other like interviews I've done how you find us. We're really hard to find. We're Compulsion, that's C-O-N, instead of Compulsion. It's a play on the word to do with convention. We're Compulsion on Twitter. We're Compulsion on Facebook. We're Compulsion on Gmail as well. It's
Yeah.
just like we're tough to find. So, but we want people's comments. We want to know like the feedback because it's very plausible and possible that Gregor and me will be in charge next year, and we want to make sure we move it on and we develop all that through the feedback.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, for this podcast, that I don't talk to our podcast. You guys got an exclusive with me.
We'll have to mention the exclusivity that we really do appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, being an unreformed indie game type, I've got to be all about the entitlement and the exclusivity.
Well, I'll just sell my wares all over the place.
So between you kind of form a balance.
Yes. We are the yin and yang of Compulsion.
Yeah. Well, it's the black and the white suits, Phil. But we're not forming a yin and yang symbol later, Phil.
No.
Not in public anyway.
No, the civil wedding is off.
Yeah.
So how did you guys, and this is a standard question we ask, how did you guys get started in gaming, in this hobby?
For me, my father he really liked Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, the Worm Ouroboros. He was into this stuff, so growing up, I was sort of immersed in that stuff. And when we moved house for my father's job, and there was a guy 2 doors along. His father worked with my father. He was interested in archaeology and Dune and all these things, and of course he was a gamer, as it turned out. So I got into it that way. So for me, it was playing a Chaos Warrior in original Warhammer Fantasy Battle First Edition, which had character rules. And then from then, there was a guy called Mr. Stewart that was an English teacher at our local school, and it was Mr. Stewart's Dungeons and Dragons Club. And I didn't go along to Dungeons and Dragons Club at first, and then they said, there's also Judge Dredd and these other, I think it was battle cars, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go along now. So I was doing gaming at home, but not at the school when I went along. So that was me.
And for me, my dad was always a massive board gamer. We had hundreds of board games in the house. For one of my birthdays, he ran a game of Dungeons and Dragons. Well, actually, it was an adapted version of Tunnels and Trolls for me, which was a great game, apart from the fact that the monster ratings were completely broken. But I didn't understand that when I was 7. And I really wanted him to run some more, but he was too busy, and so I went on to form my own group, and at age 8, as the article I wrote for Nearly Enough Dice, at age 8 I killed my first person, and I've never looked back since.
Well, I have to say, I think I've really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, being very busy, I haven't had a chance to actually play much, but I have to say I have really enjoyed being this convention.
If I could recommend one thing you do at the con, and obviously people are going to be listening to this podcast not at the con, they'll hear it afterwards. Yeah. So one thing they should go and hunt down after the convention is a thing called Mobile Frame Zero. Okay. It's fighty robots with Lego.
Ah, yes.
And the sight of them smashing up Lego. Now I've got a robot, a Mechaton sort of more mobile frame that I've made at home, with the giant Lego bricks. They're almost verging on Duplo. But the Lego those guys have got up there is insane. It's just perfect. And they've got really Gundam style mechs made with with Lego, and you should track it down. Mobile Frame Zero. It's brilliant. It's going to be Creative Commons as well.
Yes, and there's a Kickstarter about it too.
Yeah, we had an interview with those guys. It looks fantastic.
What's the one thing you would recommend people check out?
Come back to Compulsion next year. That's what I'd recommend people to do. I'd recommend them to come along, experience it, see if there's anything that they like. There's tons of gaming. There's traditional board gaming to LARPing, live action role playing, to war games. We have a lot of stuff going on, and we're having a fabulous time.
Yeah, there's hundreds having a fabulous time here.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for a fantastic convention and for a great interview. Anything else you'd like to plug before we send you on your way?
Yeah, you can cut the noise of all the people bubbling and talking in the background. Yeah, we're done.
Right, thanks again.
Cheers, thanks.